day. It's been some time since I have made a recording. Oh, dang it. There we go. There it is. Alright. Naturalization. Well, don't worry about that. That's why they're going after that. It has been some time. It has been a very complicated several weeks or a week or whatever. I don't really keep track, to be honest with you, how often I do these. Well, 16, oh, yeah, actually, I do. 16 August, which is today, is 4 September. So about 2 weeks. There's been a lot going on, and not all of the things I've put able to put in, but didn't nail everything. Like one of the things I speak about Lady Camilla. Yeah, but she's about to be in for a big surprise. McConnell gave a speech lightly admitting, actually not lightly, but blatantly admitting, the Republicans can't win without gerrymandering. And oh, here's the thing. That was one of the things. All right. They did corruption. So what is the deep state? I didn't really. Um, the deep state is all of the workers that uphold the law. So what does that mean? It is if you work at the Department of Interior, you work at the IRS, everyone's railing about, which I'm actually, yeah, it's as a business person and even as an employee, you're supposed to try to avoid paying taxes legally. And a lot of these businesses, of these business quote business leaders, have done over the last 40 years is remove the just gut the IRS to nothing there, and then start bitching and complaining about taxes, and then, which we know the Republican strategy is spend when they're in office and then bitch about the spending when they're not, and then they use debt spending, and then we don't get any profits off the debt spending. All that debt spending goes into their donors' pockets, and then gut environmental protections, which is who are Mitch McConnell's donors, and then say, oh, it's holding up jobs, it's creating more jobs and more investments. It's not. It's not. Investments, jobs come from investments. No, so if there's no reinvestment into the business, there's no jobs. There's no competitiveness. It is because I'll tell you straight, right off the bat, the money does not go back into the pockets of either the workers, as you can see what's going on with Starbucks and the unionization. Starbucks has this empty chair on the board, and what's the guy's name who started Starbucks a couple weeks ago? He stated he said no, it was just a straight outright thing about unions, even though it's a public company. And that says exactly what that empty chair is. It's like, oh, what do we hear? Let's hear from the workers. Oh, nothing to say. That's basically what the chair is about. It's a cynical way of playing BS. And as I've said, from a business owner and perspective, okay, one of the highest parts of one of your highest outputs is labor. However, you most people wouldn't mind. Okay, I'll take a little bit less short term as long as I can survive and live and do well, but as long as I get part of the basket of capital to make up for it, so I'm kind of, they're part owners. They don't want that. And that will be the difference between a public company and a private company. Private companies will have to pay more or do bonuses if they don't want to own, if you don't want to, which I'm more of that type. I'm not giving ownership to shit on the private part of that private company, and I understand that. But if you go into the public sphere and go, this is a public company, I'm taking public money because public investment, but I'm going to still tell you what to do as if they're a private company. That's because a corporation is in the United States, once again, in its core is a public trust and a public good, even though it's privately held. And but the private ownership is the public. So the public trust so it has to have a public trust component. The public trust component is destroyed, therefore the corporation is not doing what it's supposed to do. And that's why you keep hearing or railing about communism, whatever. We're capitalist, but capitalists we're supposed to all be part of getting part of the profits, but we're not. Instead, and this is one of the tactics that Putin's been using. He's been getting his oligarchs to squeeze and pull, and they own Russia, and it's as a kleptocracy, and they're ridiculously rich. And then you have the keep it up with the Joneses, and like, well, they're gajillion billionaires of sorts, so we need to be that too. So let's squeeze our people, and that's not how capitalism works. That's not the way it's supposed to work if you're going to have a democracy. And this is the reason the union fight needs to continue. And also, so for instance, instead of each individual store has to unionize, and that's why Starbucks is trying to attack each individual store. But as a group, become one singular union, you can then buy your way back onto the board and actually fill that seat. So don't let their goal is to splinter these unions and not be able to fill that seat. And then the other part on the bottom layer is, as we've seen with this, psychopaths have been able to use our systems to get power. And as we know, a psychopath is an individual who's not really, from a metaphysical perspective, from a psychological perspective, they're a stuck child of about 1 to 2 years old. They have an externalized self, and they really aren't anyone. They're really, and so and from a metaphysical perspective, it's a stuck child with a meme entity that doesn't exist, which is cluster B. So they split between 2 points. The only way that it can exist is they have to create an emotion off to the left, an emotion off to the right, and then they say they're the center when they're not. They're really non-existent. So whenever somebody says the deep state, they're talking about the people who go to work and uphold the law. And they don't want to, I'll come back to this. They don't want to believe they have to follow the law. And and that means they are above the law. And one of the things that we know the planters did is, as we can see it physically, what the planters, the Jamestown planters and everything did, is they created they did the externalization with quote, what we call racism today. There's negativity, I'll dump it onto those people. There's positivity, I'll act all nice and polite over here. And then when I talk to these people or whatever, I just treat them like shite. And and then when over here, oh, I'm this nice, polite person, when they're really just shitty human beings. There's a difference, and as we've seen, without that, they are nothing. So they got to constantly create chaos. That's why Drumpf is always creating all this chaos. So nobody can track, but he's tracking how he's moving emotions around because emotions are objects to a cluster B, a deep, especially narcissist personality style and the psychopathic style. Or kids that are just, and right now, you know, and it's kind of funny. Uh, I just talked about this with Diana. Uh, oh, here's what I need. All right. So gonna go. So yeah. So that's how corporations as are basically stealing everybody's money. These families are trying to play keep up with the Joneses with the Russians, and the Russians knew that. There's a lot of disjointed things right now, but as I'm usually very disjointed. But the main thing right now that is really bothersome is the family. Right now, they're definitely trying to kill me. Sit there. Well, they've been trying to kill me for a while, but they're definitely trying to pierce the. Let me take care of this first, and then I can get to the other things. Right now, as my next door neighbor, who's basically he's given the key since Dave was left, and not the next door neighbor, this guy off to my left. He's a kid. They tried to set up a thing of a drug dealer and all this. Well, if he's a drug dealer, he needs to be gone by November. So you got some month. What is this? September, October. This is 30 days of November. If he's not, then he needs to be busted and taken to jail. If he keeps playing, because he wants to keep playing this game with this game, because he's taken on the rhythms of Rob Hammett, which we'll get to in a second. Who and you know, he's gonna end up dead, and I don't really care. But steals my walking stick, which you're not supposed to do if you're doing a dead drop. Leave shit like that. But that's Rob's little thing of saying, "Oh, we can reach you." Okay, Rob, you're gonna fuck around and find out that I'm not lying. Um, his arrogance is arrogance means self-importance, of course. So deal with that. But his ignorant arrogance between the three admirals who are willing to overthrow the country because they're part of the family. Explain something to you what's been going on. Because you have Tulsi Gabbard, if these are the possibilities, even if she's not, they're still working in Concerto. Not, the chick that Rob knocked up back in the day, in the early thousands. But they're working in Concerto. What it means is everything I've noticed for a while, but it definitely happened last where I put the traitor, Rob Hammond as a traitor, and all of a sudden, like, bam, Fox News is talking about traitors and this. And I'm like, yeah, I figured that's what you're doing. He was doing, they do is they'll come in, read my shit, and then they'll run it to Fox News, and then create this mess. Because I remember one time sitting there, and Rob was like, "Oh, I'm an instigator," and that's what he likes to do. It's the John McEnroe. It's also when I think about it, I was thinking about tennis because of Serena Williams. Congratulations to one amazing career, by the way, Miss Williams. Miss Williams is a professional name, and I don't know what your married name is. Obviously, I don't really get into celebrity gossip. I think it's kind of silly. People are people, leave them be. But McEnroe would complain and whine, and the thing is, when you're at the very, very tippy top, what you are, what you do, The difference between first and second is minuscule. So if he's the so you have the judge on the sidelines, and then the guy, and then he's constantly whining, constantly whining. So the and then McEnroe would start moving the ball out to the edge just a little bit, keep expanding, essentially by millimeters or an inch or so, expanding the lines he's attacking on, because he's going to come in and he's going to attack the lines, or which was the and so if you can get the judges and complain and bitch and make it and associate any time the ball is close to the line, you do that 4 or 5 times, and now the judge is inclined to go, okay, I don't want to, even though if they don't realize, even if they're fighting it, it's like after 2 hours of just this constant whiny little shit. That's good for 3 or 4 points, 15 points, there's a match, but not match, but when you're doing tennis. So 4 or 5 points at maximum level wins a match. And that's the McEnroe thing. Whine, complain, get the judge to not call balls and strikes as balanced as possible, but get the judge to start to just so they won't have to deal with this whiny little shit. And he opens up the court and so he's manipulating the judge, and then he's pressing the court size open wider. So you've been practicing all this time on the line, and then McEnroe incrementally moves the line over just a little bit by getting the judge not to call line strikes, line hits, and stuff. That was the McEnroe tactic. It really was. It was just basically a whiny little brat, but it was a strategic maneuver, and he used it his entire career. Same shit that Trump is doing with the judges. If I can just keep cruising, this is it's the same thing, and so we have right now with Trump and the judge down about Mar-a-Lago, and he's bitching about, I bullshit. You didn't declassify a motherfucking thing. That's one of the part of the line. So what he did. See, each president gets a chunk of change to make a presidential library. What he did is he stole, and people say, well, it's just the National Archives. No, the Presidential Records Act was designed to blatantly make it clear. You are an occupant of the office. You are not the office. Trump believes he's above the law. Everything's an externalization. Remember that. We've seen the bar where he has all this stuff in it. He says he declassified the stuff. What he's doing is just declassify these documents. What you forget is all the stuff that he stole from the White House. That's not in the National Archives, and things that didn't belong to him, like the Lincoln bust. And you're seeing this in his bar, and the Melania's, they searched my shit. You know how many people we the people have searched for greater things, and you're whining because you think you're the frickin' queen? Who the hell do you think you are? Your husband is a frickin' traitor, just like Robert Hammett, which I'll explain in a second, but in a different manner. So Trump is and so because he goes, that stuff is mine. It's ours. We the people own it. All that stuff you have in Mar-a-Lago and charging for, he can set up a presidential library for all people, but he makes it to Mar-a-Lago so it's just these people who can afford these prices instead of we the people who own it. He's stolen our stuff. The FBI needs to go down and get the rest of the crap and send it to the archives, not just the classified documents. And two, he can't just declassify, especially nuclear secrets and spy secrets. We were losing people 2 years ago. We were losing people actually 3 years ago. and he's made us less safe. And that means us, even if you don't want to think that those other people, if you're a straight up bigot, he's made you less safe. Because China doesn't give a shit. Even though the family has been trying to overthrow the government, overthrow the Constitution, and turn us into a theocracy. And they're pretty damn close, as we can see with the Roe versus Wade decision. And the irony is, I think, with Kathleen Kennedy, pissed off that they killed her brother, viewed it as the WASP, brothers, I should say. And she's helping the very same people who killed her brothers into power. The very same ideology. Because it wasn't the WASP that killed your brother. It was the Southern bigots. Because they sent them over, just like when in Ukraine, I was holding them back. They were at a coffin corner, and then you start pushing this system. You start building, because the whole thing was a much bigger, because what they want, they really kind of want Ukraine to win-ish, lose-ish, draw the United States and NATO into a war with Russia, which then would draw China in, force India to make a decision, and World War III would start off. But I was holding them back because what's the use of winning the quote war, winning the battle, losing the war? If they didn't get rid of corruption, improper corruption, there's two types of corruption, proper and improper. Proper corruption is you know how to play the game, you may be pushing on the gray edges, but you're still trying to work within the spirit of the law. Improper corruption is just fuck you, every time you do something you're going to pay me. That's improper corruption because the money does not go back into the people, and it does not create more capital, doesn't create more wealth. Improper corruption is just stealing, basically. Kleptocracy, the Russian state. Even Xi Jinping realized that improper corruption destroys the state. And it was very useful for him to gain power, but unfortunately, because of the way he does things. But proper corruption is, if I say corruption is, it's basically the military-industrial complex. If you want to look at it, pure terms, they play in the rules. It's proper corruption, and they keep changing the rules, and that because they know we're not going to be paying attention. But true, pushing the gray areas is listening to trying to use the spirit and the letter of the law. Maybe wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You still know that if you get busted, then all right, you're going to jail. Improper corruption is you use the laws to jail your opponents. Trump is trying to make America into an improper, corrupt country. If Trump says it about somebody else, that's what he's thinking. The man's just pure projection. It's quite hilarious. Yeah, and the corporations are trying to take over the country, that's for sure. So Trump has all his stuff down there. Everyone's talking about there's no legal enforcement. Bullshit. He stole our stuff. That's all the legal enforcement you need. And when they say government, quit saying government. We the people. You hear government, we the people. Are you the people? Are you the person? Then you're the government. These people work on, if they are in the deep state, so to speak. Oh, you mean we the people. You're saying we the people shouldn't be doing the things that we the people say we want done. Or only that those laws don't matter because then we the people don't matter. And if you're Caucasian and you say, well, those people over there. Well, no, all the laws. We're all the people. And that's what he's doing, trying to get people not to. That was what Reagan did, is saying, well, oh, government is the problem. I'm not a big government guy, dude, and not somebody in my shit, such as the shit that I'm going through right now. We, the people, are the government. We, the people, tell you what to tell the government what to do. They are an extension of all of us. And I'll get to that a little bit later. So, oh yeah, so Kennedy's probably going, what are you talking about? 2 weeks before, as I said, oh yeah, about how they are, how the family, how the Southern bigots, and then they teamed up with the Calvinist, DeVos, and the Prince family, who have been systematically giving power to China to overthrow the United States. Because people are talking about, there's some historians, and we're talking about they're against the containment of China, and I'm kind of agree, but I disagree at the exact same time. TPP was a very good idea, minus the fact it was only a corporate a grab, which would have made us look worse, and people would have hated us even more because it did nothing for workers and it did not do diplomacy. The diplomacy we've been doing is nothing more than, we haven't been doing diplomacy. We've just blowing up everything. The military industrial complex has just been just stealing all of our money, and we've been not creating any trade, and we're not living up to what we're not living up to the brand, so to speak, throughout the world. Now, Islamists, they just hate everybody. You see with that, Al Sadr's trying to take over Iran. Well, that's another point later on. And so that's the same thing that happened in, well, what happened 2 weeks ago, or before Ukraine started its counteroffensive, is the exact same thing that happened in Vietnam. Kennedy was waiting, deciding if waiting for the right time, seeing the movement, and then Secretary of State just rolls it in, and we get the fiasco that was Vietnam. Same shit, different pile. And what the other thing they're doing is now they're using, like I said, Tulsi Gabbard goes off on the Fox News talking about railing about the elites. Tucker Carlson, who's, I think was his second, was a Sonsonaire, so he's third generation, so he might be starting to kind of be the quote global elite himself, but he's nothing more than an employee. That's when he was having that breakdown a couple years ago, about a year and a half ago, because he couldn't resolve that the fact that he was going to be a traitor to the United States, spewing out his hatred. And it's funny, the people he hates, what was they saying, looking out over the moat and you see the lowly people. Yeah, whatever, dude. Such a candy ass. And they're making it, and one of the good things with with Hammett's little attack is his little messenger stated, oh, we're attacking the Wasp. Well, that confirmed in the Wasp, in their own racism, don't realize they're the targets. The family is actually targeting them, has been for years, because the Wasp are the ones who kept the Union together. And they're getting soft and fat. And they've been conditioned with Fox News. And since once you, and getting off on their greed, getting high on their supply, so to speak. I go down, they go down. They don't realize that. The only thing stopping this really sucks. I don't know how I'm not going crazier than normal. But that's what's going on, and I really like to get this over with so I can get back to just riding my motorcycle around the freaking country, doing my thing. Which me saying that is all the psychopaths are going, woo, we can just not stop. Dude, yeah, keep smoking that. Because you do that, and then I'll be setting you up to cut your head off. And it's like all this violence talk. Well, this is the language that they know, because these are not people. David Icke and the lizard people. Well, if you want to, I don't know, maybe another fifth dimension in their heads, and they really are lizard people. But at this present time, they're acting more like people, more like lizards than people. They're acting in their lower self. Whereas a psychopath is an undeveloped human. And then they use Jesus. Christianity was very useful because Christianity came about as a way for Constantine to be able to combine all of these other pluralistic religions under one banner that he could control. Christianity was, because it was originally started, of course, by the Jews. Then Saint Peter took it to the Gentiles, but it was realist. It was really done. The Roman officers believed in Mithraeus, and then the enlisted picked up Christianity, and that's why they combined the Mithraic traditions with Christianity. And then you're talking, and then it goes even farther back into the Pharaonic, because even Judaism goes into the Pharaonic culture. Even though in the Bible it says Egypt will never rule the earth again, in many ways it still does through the Jews. Because Moses learned the rights and how to learn the Pharaonic rights and then transfer those to the Jewish people, or the children of Israel, before the schism, and there was only left the Jew, what known left as the Cohens and the Jews, is Jewish, the two tribes, until present day, which we now know we have all the tribes. So this is why they're trying. This is why the evangelicals, who are basically, I'll be honest with you, they're charlatans. It's the whole thing about evangelizing, and the way these churches are, and it's a good feeling. It's like people's like, well, he's a jerk, but he goes to church on Sunday, or she's a jerk, or she goes to church on Sunday. Well, that's the thing. If you look at it from a cluster B, it makes sense. And they say you're a Roman soldier high up on lead poisoning, it makes sense. Be ruthless, cruel, brutal, hateful, and then Sunday you're absolved of all the blood you've let over the week. Looking at it just purely from a practical manner. Now, I am not saying Christianity is bad by no means, because Christianity, I think, is an extremely good religion, and it's obviously, since it took over all these other ones, used it. But then there's also, the Druidic traditions. You have the Earth traditions, and they still exist, and they're still here in this world, thankfully. But in general, Christianity was used by the Roman Empire to supplant most other religions. But when you study comparative religions, they all pretty much say the same thing. But the family is using Christianity to gain power. That's why the National Prayer Breakfast. That's the situation we have with Jared Kushner and the Saudis and the Abraham Accords, basically selling out the United States. Irony is, if with climate change we're losing these ice caps, Jerusalem goes underwater. And Kushner believes he's going to be a king of Israel. Oh, that's funny. I don't think so. Especially if it's underwater. And if it's not underwater, definitely not. Because remember, he belongs to a very far-right Jewish sect. That's why MBS, part of one of the reasons MBS gave him money. And then crapped on our president in his visit, getting high on his supply. Ted Cruz's bill to legalize corruption. Come back to that in a second. Yeah, it seems like the Republicans are hammering the student loan forgiveness, and the listening to Ted Cruz, he's gotten way too comfy being senator. He believes, just like Mitch McConnell, he rules this. He rules Kentucky. He rules and Ted Cruz rules Texas. They don't believe they serve the people. They believe the people do what they tell them to do. And he's talking about student loan forgiveness. When you look at the big picture of how the family has been, well, first off, the theocrats have been working to take over and destroy the Constitution. First with the Civil War, then through World War II, they tried, and then they tried again. They really went crazy during the Civil Rights Movement. That was the other thing that that they hate, because if they can't externalize, people are going to figure out and realize that their behavior sucks. Why do you think Hammett and McRaven and Strivides have been? First they said I was gay, which is bullshit. Anyone who's known me knows that's definitely not. That is definitely false. Then they're saying, "Oh, you have to have what is it I can say retard, but it's not the word. But special person, because there's no way they couldn't just you have to have this. You have to be the. They just couldn't get their brain around. I'm just intelligent, because they've so made. First off, they've made African Americans, black African Americans, hate intelligence, because then they would attack anybody who's intelligent, and so black African American women then attack black men, and then they attack anyone who is intelligent and who is honest. They've gotten black African Americans to learn to cut each other off at the knees. That's the whole reason Jay-Z was all pissed off. Look, dude, not my circus, not my monkey, man. You grew up the way you grew up. You had to do what you had to do. You were smart enough to know not to get totally busted, because they knew you were. And they knew you were useful. The only reason you're a billionaire is because they know they can control you. They view you as a useful idiot, Jay-Z. Keeps the You know, Miss Cross with her perpetual resting bitch face. You're, you're an idiot, lady. Smart idiot, but an idiot. Useful idiot. Keep those little brown people, brown people in place. And she does it by saying, "Well, I'll do the thing, but I won't emotionally commit." And so people will think they're, "Oh yeah, we're good," and then she'll just cut him underneath, under the, at the knees. There's the line I'd always hear back in America. Let me hear it go on. Hurry up and play this, my dumb motherfucker. That's what she said. It's so culturally ingrained you don't even realize you do it. There's a buddy of mine. Right now, he's going through his tough time medically, but it was a situation, and then somebody was saying, "Oh, he wouldn't give to his GoFundMe page." No, not. And I'll explain why. It's none of your damn business, but I'm going to say why. And anyways, so they're on my trip, roll in. "Hey, what's up, dude? Hey, man, we're gonna go to this place." I'm like, "Yeah, cool." I figures you and I would just sit there, chit chat, meet up, talk for a wee bit. Haven't seen him in a while. He invites some of his, one actually invites two dudes. First dude, he's pretty chill. He's not trying to be a taker. He's just kind of funny, and I'm a very private person. If I'm gonna meet somebody, I'm like, "Hey, dude, how you do?" If I'm out and about, but I don't say this, so I just kind of chill, whatever. And this first dude, he's pretty chill. He's actually a really dude. He's not a taker. And he's Caucasian. This guy was Caucasian. It wasn't so much that he was Caucasian; it's just the personality. And this other brother comes in, and this is a black guy. And what gets me is because this dude I know, he's African American, generationally educated, and there's certain expectations with education and certain expectations of things. But this dude comes in, and he's just straight up thinking I'm gonna just buy his shit, and he's gonna, and like, "Oh yeah, he's here, so everyone just fuck it, yeah, he's gonna pay for everything." I'm like, "Whoa, motherfucker! Oh hell no!" So I'm sitting back and I'm watching, I'm listening to what this black guy's doing, and then I get to the end, and he's expecting me to pay, and I didn't pay for his shit because I'm sitting. He's expecting me to do something, and then he tries to make it like, "Oh, like I'm a bad guy." I'm like, "No, you don't do that. It's so low class. You can say shit all about me all you want, but you don't do that." No, that is absolutely abhorrent behavior. Because then he will assume that he now has to control over me, and then it can say, "Oh, you're supposed to be this behavior. You're supposed to be this person I come to, and I'm supposed to just take from." Not so much my boy, not so much my friend, the dude, but this other dude. That was all his behavior. So I'm sitting there watching this dumb fuck. That's crazy. And then tries to libel me to the dude who's now going through some medical problems. So the thing is, because I'm a consultant, because that's my main thing was business consulting. Never really, really, but my work product is my mind. A 5 minute set, I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars to gain the knowledge that I have. So I just don't give it away for free. Fuck you, pay me. I've already over the last 20 years have changed multiple every place I have gone, I have changed them to where they have profited immensely. And then they try to take everything from me. If that's from the wrestling, that's from the military, from the Navy, that's from Full Sail. So no, I don't give away my shit. But I did help him out. I sat there and I did a because I knew everyone's looking at my fucking phone. So if I give him $50, then it's either $50 or advice to figure out how to actually protect his family, which is worth way more. He takes the physical, that he won't get the mental. Choice is his. But he hasn't said anything. Other people are like, well, because he knows, because I already helped him out, him and his wife in a situation before. Know your value, and nobody can take it away from you, no matter what crap they pull. See, right now, McRaven and Hammett, because Hammett made his career off of the whole thing of like, oh, he beat me, and that's why they tried to bring him in. Now had a freaking, right now he's running an illegal thing in the United States because he was trying to kill me. Because the military, if he has his commission, then it is completely illegal. The United States military is not supposed to operate on domestic soil, especially as a hit squad. So if he has any SEALs underneath him, just like that SEAL who Trump applauded for being, what did his team call him? They said he was fucking evil. And judging from how this cat next door became just a rage monster, I'm like, okay, that's Hammett. Same rhythms, so he became that. I'm like, oh, that's interesting, because I've seen that, and the only person I've seen that same micro rhythm was within Hammett. And we know with Tulsi Gabbard babbling, this is what they're trying to do. They're telling everybody what they're doing. Trying to overthrow the government, overthrow the United States, start World War III, get off on all that hate, and then think that they're going to win when the world will say, F you, you're killing us, we're going to turn around and destroy you. We're not going to come out of it like we came out of World War II. Because we're entering in under, we are the Nazis. That's why Putin is getting this whole Nazi thing. Because here's the thing, Trump becomes king, or what he thinks, that gives Putin the impetus, because it's all white nationalist, i.e. the Nazis, and he can roll into Europe. Create the problem, fix the problem. Oh, yes. The youth needs to get the Democrats. Right now, I'm not actually surprised that we're having problems with one of the senators here in Colorado, because, well, we know that the theocratic right's home is here in over by Air Force Academy, which is also quite terrifying because they're just like the Navy is all Caucasoid, so is the Air Force. Nothing against it, but that's, well, yeah, I do have something against it. But that's the officership. That's why they keep cutting education, which is kind of odd. They keep they want to be educated, but they don't want to be educated. They want everybody else to be stupid, dumb as a box of rocks, and then say, "Well, we understand God." I guess they think they're gods of men or whatever. Whatever. It's the evangelicals are even when I was living in the South, some of the most hypocritical Southern Anabaptists are some of the most hypocritical people I've ever met. Bless their heart. And it's sad, but from if you look at it, but from a structural perspective, they're not being hypocritical, but they're being hypocritical, knowing that they're being hypocritical. But if you look at it from a structure of psychopathy and narcissism as an externalized self, as the worse they can make other people appear, the better they. And then what they do, as we're seeing with Hammett, they then what they'll do is ping, 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 and then they'll do the opposite to their with their in group. So they need that meme demon needs other people to shit on other people, so that way they know how to act like, ooh, such a good person, when they're really shitty human beings. If they are, they're not really not even persons. So I'm looking for so how is it is feminine. This is saved for last. Citizens United. One of the things that right now millennials is the Gen Zs are out. They're out and they're voting because they realized what's going on. It's gun violence, climate change. The baby boomers had everything handed to them on a silver platter. They pulled the door closed, and then they crapped on their kids and grandkids. Put in Citizens United, and they say, oh, it's not that bad. That's just legalized corruption, dark money. And and then the funny thing is, Ted Cruz put this bill in to where he can get paid for being corrupt. Did it nice and quiet like, though, of course, because he knows no one will really like it. Here's the thing. I think what the Democrats need to do is go full NASCAR. It's always been the thing where people say, oh, politicians should show who their donors are. I think they should. I think the Democrats should show these are my donors, just like Bernie did. You can still take dark money and you'll say, hey, this is dark money. And then here's the light money. These are the people who own me. Oh, and then use the law and say, this is how much I'm going to take after I'm done. And it's going to put in my pocket. Because that's what that law that Ted Cruz was pushing. Getting paid off his corruption. Raphael Warnock should be like, hey, you want to buy yourself a politician today? $10 to the campaign. Then put it on their website. $15. I've raised 100. We'll see. Senate seats like 40 million, so I've raised $40 million. Of that $40 million, $10 million is $15 donations. Another 15 million, some black thing, and then you have, then you might have Share Club at 200,000 or something through a super PAC of blah blah blah. Just say it. Just tell people this is who's buying me. And just say, I'm taking their money. I'm going to get in. Because I'm going to, stand for what I'm going to stand for. But this is who's trying to buy me. Go full NASCAR. Oh no, this is how much I'm going to put in my pocket afterwards. All right. And so you might say, well, I say, why is Rob Hammett a traitor to the Constitution? Because he tried to set up the thing, tried to, as far as the drug thing, which, whatever, that was an entrapment or attempted entrapment. Then, after I stated, have a certain courtesy, he then tried to set up another thing where he could then attack me, saying, well, he broke that courtesy. The only problem is, and this is the part they're trying to figure out, the courtesy that they think that they're working off of is not the courtesy that I have. And I say courtesy because, well, that's just it's a polite way of saying things. See, they're going to use Mr. Briscoe. They almost used Mr. Briscoe to have me murdered. And then once they would have me murdered, then they would have Mr. Briscoe go and murder the prince, Prince Harry, and his Kumbalo, or people, which once again would set off a civil, which would break us from Great Britain, which is what Putin wants, which then creates a schism both in the United States, but then in NATO, and then across uh, the Commonwealth. Meanwhile, Kathleen Kennedy is actually working for the people who murdered her brothers because of Vietnam, even though they created the mess on purpose. Irony at its finest, ain't it? So Hammett's running an illegal SEAL team on domestic soil, attempting to kill an American citizen who also has a special courtesy. So that way, these theocrats can do their whole Jesus is coming, talking about speaking in tongues. They ain't speaking in tongues. You're just rabbling BS. Speaking in tongues is speaking in riddles. And when you go through the conjunction of the opposite, you start sounding really, really strange, kind of like Yoda. And the unus mentalis. It gets worse as you get to the unus mentalis. In many ways, it is like everyone's like Joe Biden. He's a stutterer, right? Why is he a stutterer? Because ideas are moving so fast, and he's trying to catch up to them. And they're coming in chunks, so it's just not A, B, and C. It's just not A and then B. It's A, B, C, D. It's the difference between thinking in linear and parallel. And speaking of which, now we're gonna get in, oh yeah, now we're gonna so you gotta take care of that and then take care of business back home. All right, so we'll do that one after we. So, pardon me, I have because I've normally I would have these organized out, but I've kind of knew it because I was sitting there seeing what was going on. I kind of let everything kind of be blah to see where they would do, what kind of crap they would pull. And they did exactly what I thought they were going to do. See, Rick Raven has tried to cut my ties to my friends. He's tried to segregate me. Well, he has, but it didn't really matter because I'm used to being by myself. So it's kind of threw his head into a tizzy. And then they're going to try to. The thing is that they're trying to pull right now is okay. We'll allow you to. Well, I'm going to fucking asking your permission because what they're trying to do. Well, let me get back to. Let me finish before I get back to that one because that one's a doozy. Oh yeah, it was a future fake. And we now know who's working with the family, which is Facebook, Zuckerberg, because you realize about a week ago, all of a sudden Zuckerberg saying, and then you have the situation with Twitter and all these different people all of a sudden coming up. They figured, okay, he's beaten, we got him. Realizing that's what I've been waiting for, to see who is who in the zoo. There's somebody else, I didn't write it down, but it's somebody else that was so obvious. But once you get going, sometimes you. But oh yeah, it was Kushner. Yeah, it was Kushner going on to Fox News, spewing out a bunch of gaslighty bull of BS. That little pencil neck. He only comes out when he thinks he can get away with it. Trying to overturn Israel, become its king. I think those the Ashkenazi that are what the hell they are, to where the Orthodox Jews, Orthodox to the time that they were in ghettos as opposed whatever, not serving. Israel needs to stop that because their numbers are getting so high, and they're eventually going to do the exact same thing that the Rabbi Christ was saying happened. Warned the rest of the Jewish people what was going to happen if they didn't learn how to play the game. But they're special, and when you think you're special, overly special, you do stupid shit. You don't have restraint. They didn't, and what happened? Temple was destroyed. And if you read accounts, it's obvious that was what was going to happen. The Romans had so much control. Instead of just biding their time, keeping the temple grooving, they want to be, oh, I'm going to flex on the Roman Empire. Right. Now they're going to eventually go, we're going to flex on all of Arabia. The Arabs, Muqtada al-Sadr. Trump gave us up in Afghanistan. He gave up Iraq. Muqtada, before he killed Muqtada. He's trying to take over Iraq. He's pushing the Iranians out. So then after he takes over, he's then going to, now he has the full army of not just his militia, which becomes like his brown shirts. Then he's raised himself to the same level the mullahs, but more powerful than the mullahs of Iran, then they're going to start fighting each other, or they might come together. Then you have the problem with the Shias. My brain is not really. It's like the Shia schism between the Arabs. So they're going to go after Saudi Arabia, or they're going to head towards Israel. And the family and these theo-fascists are going, please go to Israel, please go to Israel. But they're not going to send their sons and daughters to that fight. They're do you think DeVos is definitely not heading over? She might send her brother, but even then, he's probably not. He's going to send a bunch of other people to die. Trains up the private security for China, which is just basically 4 deployed troops. 4 million private security, basically 4 million 4 deployed troops. Because all the situation has to do is now you just surge equipment to them. Africa is so close to being colonized. But we have to give these countries another option. They don't like the whole, the dictators don't like the whole human rights thing, that pesky human rights. And I totally get it. But we're not giving you our money so that way you keep stealing it and not helping your people. We want to return our investment. We are still Americans and we are still greedy shits. But we can do better as far as getting the money down to the individuals. Small micro loans, which you've shown to work well. Now these large families are going to freak out because they think, "Whoa, we're not getting all this billions." Well, you'd actually make more money if you help your people. It's like a tree, Secret Life of Trees. That's an amazing book. It's an organic way of growing. But they are psychopaths, so they got to feed on the negative energy, and so they got to keep screwing their people, and then they got to keep pointing and say, "Oh, it's the gringos, or the Americans screwing you over," when it's the people that are screwing you over. And granted, our psychopaths were working with these families because they saw some of those psychopaths, and that's why we lost the Sahel region in North Africa. Now that I realize it's Rob, most definitely, and that's why McRaven went after soon-to-be Vice Admiral Losey. And why do I say soon to be? Because Leader Schumer, McRaven put into the SEALs, there's a thing in Q, it's like Trump's going to get this whole army together and that's that army. They've been for decades putting these far-right, theocratic nationalists, Christian white nationalists, into these higher positions and training them through spec ops. All of the admirals, or not all of them, but majority of the admirals, definitely in the regular fleet, but in the SEALs, are all either bigots themselves or blatant white nationalists like Rob. And Rob had to get rid of Losey, and he did the McEnroe. And then McRaven, his little mini-me, he just took out Losey's career because he was putting a thumb on Rob's ass. Because I'm pretty sure he figured out, because when I wrote the EO, the last one, I wrote it with the assumption that Losey would understand what was going on. He would figure out who was, if if Kellis was this guy's, was the former CO's dude, who was the former CO's? Who was pulling this former CO's strings? And then watching Rob do all of this horrible shit, probably figured it out. And getting promoted at record speed for being an incompetent fuck. And you might say, well, he's nailed all of us. No, 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 no. He's creating a psychopathic culture within the Navy, within the Navy SEALs. And we know that's not who they want to be around. That backstabby fleeter shit, nobody wants to be around. Nobody of merit, at least. And that's the thing also with Africa. Right now, a lot of these companies right now, we know. Originally, they said originally when they were shipping jobs off to China, it was like, oh, we'll just do, most of it will be done here, and we'll do a little over there, and they just kept slowly, slowly, slowly until all the manufacturing was gone in China. Then steals our shit, closes off theirs, has some trade, but the social media thing, they closed that off. And we're still, and they got the American Midwest. Then they go, oh, be angry at those people. And now to cover it up, Rob's coming in and then running to Fox News so Trump can keep balance so I can never get ahead of his shit. Because McRaven, problem, solution. Create the problem, destroy Trump, and then step in. Because that was when their last attack happened. Their main attack was when I was like, all right, we need to rebalance. Finally rebalance the branches. McRaven wants to be president, but he wants to be an emperor or king. And if he can't be McRaven, then it's going to be Rob. Or if it's not that, Stavridis is definitely trying to set himself up. Board of the Carlyle Group. Which brings me to another thing is because they know Charles is a dandy. Sorry, Charles. Sorry, not sorry. He can't get over his bigotry. Show me your company. I'll tell you who you are. Camilla is an absolutely horrifying just person. I don't care what you have to say. Sharon Osbourne, because you said it as, oh yeah, she's a great person, great sense of humor. Those idiots, right? Oh, look those motherfuckers. They have no idea we're playing them, right? That's the great person, great sense of humor, right? Yeah. Let me explain something to you. Queen Elizabeth did not raise Camilla to queen as like this great thing. She raised her the queen to make sure that she doesn't, she is bound to the crown. Because she had no idea. I sure as hell you didn't have no idea, Sharon. Hell, I didn't even have an idea about it. Until I figured it out, of course. Because now if she's bound to the crown, she pulls on any of her bullshit, the crown can beat the crap out of her. But then she says, well, I have control over the crown. No, the crown, that's not how it works. Charles will soon find out. Because Camilla's going to do the whole whisper thing and try to control everything, and she will bring down the crown if she keeps up her behavior. And the crown will go on, so we will destroy her before we'll let that happen. And there will be nothing Charles can do about it. Well, hell, I might as well get this out of my head so I can go with the other things I got to take care of. Now, I'm going to wait for that last because there's something that I have to say, and Lady Camilla's not going to like it. She thinks this is bad enough. Oh, fuck it. I got to get it out of my head. Pardon the language. Prince Harry, Prince William, this is how Camilla killed your mother. Her and Hollywood were constantly attacking, both via metaphysical. When you remember about a year ago, when they were attacking with the whole he's gay thing and all this, and they were trying to get me to disassociate. It's also the same way they got Admiral Borbet to kill himself. That's what they were doing. The hounding by the paparazzi was done on purpose. Instead of Camilla just saying, okay, I lost to my rival, let it be, she kept hammering. And I would not been surprised if Sharon Osbourne was also partly helping her. She put herself above God, Queen, and country. And then when Lady Markle comes in, she was the one who led the attack. And then got Prince Andrew part of it going at it, because that's the thing is they can't do it alone. They always got to try to recruit others. That's the flying monkeys. So she turned Lady Middleton into a flying monkey and Prince Andrew into a flying monkey. And and then also all the other people within the palace. As I said, Lady Camilla, you will be the queen, but you will never be the crown. The crown will go on, as the Constitution will stand. So help me God. Lady Markle, it is highly suggested. You took the test for foreign service. Didn't pass it, but apparently that was your original thing. You originally wanted to go do. And the foreign service test is exceptionally hard. However, it is imperative that you have at your disposal past foreign service agents who will be willing to teach you to learn how to pass that test. Both the British Foreign Service and the American. 2, I know you don't want to go to London, and I don't blame you. However, you need to spend 90 days, 6 weeks away from your mother, no contact. 6 weeks before you can contact her, 90 days total, and you're going to study for the foreign service exams. A leader puts his people in place so they can succeed, even if they think that what they're doing is stupid at the time. But I will explain it to you why. You must face your demons, and they are your demons. But mainly, you must learn from the most powerful woman in the world of the 20th century, because that is who you are about to become of the 21st. Due to the special courtesy and relationship with the United States. And three, your husband is a military man. There are many people who will put their lives on the line. And if you cannot, who leave their families to do so. And if you can't take 6 weeks of not talking to your overbearing mother to learn to be your own woman, to go learn from the person who you will be replacing, there'll be some people who are not going to fight that hard to protect you because you don't give a shit about their experience. Of course, it should be done quietly. Nobody should know you're there. Most people should probably think you're still in California. Yes, you pick up your kid every afternoon, but it's none of their business. And if any paparazzi or anyone bother you while you were there, that means Camilla let them know, and then that means Camilla has betrayed the crown. Or Middleton, or whoever her flying monkeys are. But it more than likely will always be started by Camilla. She'll make minor micro adjustments. To signal to the paparazzi. And at that time, we will have her by the throat. Because you see, there's another thing I can do King Abdullah later. I'll take care of this other situation with Jay-Z later. Well, maybe. But another thing is, Your Majesty, I'm not. They are. Stavridis, McRaven, and the family are trying to manage me. That's expected, but the thing is, it's back to the whole. If I was not who I am, they would have been like, oh, open arms, whatever. But instead, they're trying to manage me, which is so that they can then manage the crown, and then they would manage it through then using Camilla to manipulate Charles. And that's not how this works. I said a syndication, and I mean a syndication means I'm going to be controlling that syndication with, you know, understanding and working with the privy purse. the Carlyle Group can control me and they can control the syndications, they will control the crown. And we cannot allow that to happen. That must not. So I'm trying to move over to this apartment because I won't take any money, and they keep trying to steer me. And I stated why that about what I stated about to the because you have the owner, and then you have the because of McRaven doing the whole segregation thing, and you have the owners, and then you have the real estate agents and broker. Steering is illegal in the United States, but they usually can play it off, and I know how they play it off. I know about Section 8 and all that other stuff. Because here they can control, they can the internet systems that they have control over. Two, if they can get me from not doing what I want to do, then I'll accept whatever they think I'll accept whatever they give me. That's back to them being East African, Black African Americans. I will. When I placed a text saying that they'll be wondering why they'll be sued by the crown, this is why. Because if we allow them to maneuver me, they will be maneuvering the crown in their minds, and they will be acting on those premise or that premi on that premise or premi because it depends on how because it can be broken down in multiples. But anyways, and therefore, no matter what happens, their behavior because this is the way they work. They'll say, "Okay, we'll get you going." It's future. It's a form of future faking. They'll you positive, and then you think you're going off on your way, and then they become very violent. In keto, it's called entering in. How you enter into something, a lot determines on how you will exit that something. If I enter in with them believing that they have control over me, it follows. I need that apartment because that's, well, need, but I'm taking that apartment because they've been steering me. I'll be suing them under the crown because that's what they are doing. And it is power. And it's the only power I really actually, only use I need because I can do everything else on my own, especially once that is done and they understand screwing with me is screwing with the crown. And it's not just words. I personally much rather that is it actually serves a secondary. There's I am not leaving the thing I was going to do, even though I'm going to do the thing that I'm going to do. I am still going to live my life as an American in the way that I want to live my life as an American. But I will still be doing what I keeping my word. But I will be doing it my way. Because if I don't do it my way, you will not get the outcomes that are what are envisioned in my mind and envisioned in yours. The brothers will have to maintain control over Camilla. And it is suggested Charles becomes starts to really start to understand the weight of the responsibility that's going to be placed upon his head and our shoulders. Because right now, he's walking into a trap. Now there was a question with the old Commonwealth countries in Africa, and don't want to be recolonized. Well, as I said, China is already closely recolonizing you, and you see what they're doing. They saw what they did with the African Union, bugging the heck out of it. Kind of not too surprising, but the way they are doing things. The second thing is all of that infrastructure they're building isn't for African citizens. It's for Chinese citizens. They're going to move Chinese people to those places. They're colonizing Africa, Southeast Asia, the islands, Vietnam, Philippines, the Solomon Islands. They're bringing all of those things, and they're going to displace the persons that are living there. You're not going to have rule of law for your people. And you saw that with what they did. It was Zimbabwe, where they're saying you have to, where they signed them a treaty where they follow Chinese law, which means they just gave up their sovereignty. Which is, means just laws are not going to be the way the local populace wants. There's a situation in Rwanda where a woman wears a sheer dress and she got into jail or whatever. It's not my country, man. It's not my circus, not my monkeys. I don't really. If they're following rule of law and they're arguing and creating a democracy, and if granted the men are like, well, I can't look at that because I have no control over my pecker, and if I have no control of my pecker, blah, 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 that's basically what that is all about. But hey, we can do business as long as you're following the rule of law and you're letting people do set those rules, pushing the boundaries, fighting the back and forth. That's the messiness of freedom. But if they start using physical force outside, right now they're using physical force as the government saying because that's the way the people want. But if people start to say no, she can wear see-through stuff, whatever, and then they use violence against those people who say that that's the way we want, then that's a different story. But right now, that's the way the rules are. Meh. She's person knows it's part of the messiness of democracy. And the way we're going to invest is we're going to raise taxes. This is one of the ideas. We raise taxes on corporations. Is one of the things that cinema. I just have to go back to the Inflation Reduction Act. And one of the things is it was a deduction. That was a main thing. Complete deductions off of capital inputs. Personally, rah rah, I'll take it. But what they've set up, if we're smart, is to say, okay, if you want that complete deduction, 50, or this is reverse what they did to offshore our manufacturing. Go, okay, 70 to 50%, because no more than 50, no less than 51% of that capital good has to be made in America. That's going to be a hell of a nightmare. People will get around that all day, but it's the spirit that matters. And so you go from 75 down to 51%. So you have a 25. So if it's like, and then of that capital good, as long as you stay above 51% of your capital goods, you get that deduction, and then you use that other 49% as a statement, going, okay, we want investments, we the people, because we are the government, want investments, we want trade, not aid. We want to give these trade, but we need to maintain most of our investments here in the United States, so we don't do the dumb thing that we just did with China, lose our competitive edge because we gave it all away. So we still maintain the majority of our competitive edge here. Businesses are going to be like, blah, blah, blah. If they're bitching, then you're doing the right thing. And then we say, okay, we need, so we'll say for Rwanda, we need, if you want to set up a, a part of your manufacturing system because you have lower wages over there and a skilled, semi-skilled workforce, you can do that, and then you would still get like 49. And as long as the total end product has more than 51% made in America, you can take that other 49% and we use the tax cut break to direct it to whatever country we want to be helping at that time. And then they get the money for the capital, the deduction for reinvesting into their business. Because the whole goal is to get them to reinvest back into the business, which means back into workers, which means bringing back our wealth to our nation, while at the same time using our wealth to be the country the world thinks we are. And I know that we are. There's other things, but that's one of the main ones that I'm seeing. And once I go into the actual bill, I'll come up with better, more nuanced ideas with that. So we're not colonializing these countries. We're giving them opportunity in a way that they can say, okay, yeah, this is trade. We respect, and it's a mutual respect, as opposed to the psychopathy we've been exporting. And this has been a long time. It's been an hour. I'll take care of foreign policy tomorrow or a couple of days. I'll rewrite this over because that one's with King Abdullah. Needs to call President Biden because MBS, yeah, a little jackwad. They can have conversations over grandchildren and how they're being stupid, showing his shit. Suggest King Abdullah you place a council, 20 people, 10 picked by MBS, then you and 9 others picked by the brothers to keep an eye on that kid. He's getting full of himself. He'll take down the kingdom because he'll start thinking, well, I'm just going to start rolling over stuff. You'll find out he's not as powerful as he thinks he is. 2, the Queen is putting together a hedge fund. I'm sure MBS wants to invest in it. At triple, I was actually going to be ruthless and say about 50 billion. Actually 100 billion but 50 billion I was being quite nice. You've made all that money off of us. But no less than 4 to 5 times more than what you gave Mr. Kushner. To try to overthrow Israel. We're going to protect this world, or you can go down. And I know he's trying to get close to China and Russia. Yeah, that's what you have to do. That's part of the game. But if you don't reel your overzealous son in, we don't have to, as we switch to hydrogen, we don't need you. The technology is there. The choice is yours. I'm sure President Biden looks forward to your call. Just have a conversation about grandkids. I'm sure you guys can definitely understand. Could come to some workable laughter. But the United States is not on its last legs. We are about to rise. Make no mistake about it. We're the United States of motherfucking America. Now, on a personal note, back home, Jay-Z, I do appreciate, even though you need to get Miss Cross under control, because if you don't, we will. She likes disrespecting people. I'll show her ass. I see why you're upset. I have no qualms with this, but let me explain something to you. During the civil rights era, Elijah Muhammad was using Malcolm X as an external angry person compared to, and then, then you had Martin Luther King with his actual very smart play of maneuvering the Southern bigots and their racism. But you had the 2 points, or actually not racism, their bigotry. You had 2 points. You have the angry black guy, and then you have the calm black guy. So the white people would roll over to the calm black guy, so to speak. Malcolm X does his journey to Mecca, comes back and realizes this whole racism thing is stupid. Duh. Elijah Muhammad does not like that. Farrakhan was pretty sure Farrakhan was at that point was pretty high up, and they had Malcolm X removed from this plane. So while Farrakhan, and I do agree, National Islam does do a lot of good things within the black African American community, but he needs black African Americans to maintain poverty. And he says the right things, and he means it. And that demure thing, oh, I just got upset and I got angry. You don't know what I'm right. I don't know. Don't want to, be honest with you. Shouldn't have to. It's not my place to have to. I saw what with my brother what that thinking does. So now that you got at you can be angry at me, you can hate me. I really don't care. Or you can use this moment, full throated, full power, to actually truly lead and put your people in a better position. To finally be a full participant within this democracy. Just trust me, if you were in my shoes, you had already been dead. And to that end, Full Sail, apparently you have these individuals Ty Briscoe, Madison Orange, and Jana Lewis and Holly Adams going through music production. They need to be no longer doing that. And if you have a problem, it's because threatening another student is definitely the life of another student. And they're going to say, well, you can't prove that. I go, you should know better. I ain't that Huckleberry. They need to be removed and never come back starting today. Or I will come after you. Or my trust when I die. Choice is yours. You want to work with the Queen? You sure as hell are not going to be allowed to work with these assholes. With the cartels in Mexico. So they gave away everything that they're doing. I already knew. I've just been sitting back and waiting to figure out the full picture. Madison Orange. They raped you, and they're continuing to rape you. You need to file that report. Holly Adams and Beth, you need to help her out. If she does not do this, we will make sure she does not ever be able to book a gig anywhere in the United States again. And while Ty just said, "Ooh, fuck that motherfucker, who do you think?" You know who I am. You're going to jail. Or we're going to kill you. Because I know what you guys do. Because you would not have just tried to kill me, you would have tried to kill my family. And at that point, you would have killed royal blood, and royal blood shall not be spilled. There's nothing Kathleen Kennedy can do to save you. Jana Lewis, Miss Lewis, Mrs. Lewis. Let me explain something to you. And whether you show your shit and how whatever you bad bitch bullshit you want to say. The only reason, Mr. Lewis, the only reason you are alive is because you were Mr. Lewis's daughter and wife. If you had been anyone else, you would have ceased to exist years ago. And I don't like this whole kill this, that. I don't really care. I'd rather just push you off to the side, cut your knees off, and get you out of the world. But this is the language that you understand. What your nanny did to you and your mom, Jana, it's horrendous. Anytime he would reach out to his daughter, then his mom would come, then Mrs. Lewis would come in and create chaos because she saw how much Mr. Lewis loved his daughter. And by getting his daughter to attack him, and then both attacking him to get to the money, is horrific. Miss Adams, yeah, you might have been in love with Jana. You actually hate the fact that you had a son. You actually hate your son, which is sad. You're all going to jail. And if you make a move, you and your Sicario. And when I return to LA and I'm going to do my own thing, and if anything comes my direction, fuck around and find out. We are the crown. And don't you fucking forget it. How dare you think you can take our lives? This is to the security services of the European Union, Great Britain. I am about to tell you the names of the people. If World War III starts, you are to remove from this existence. If I am assassinated, you are to remove from existence. Rupert and Malcolm Murdoch for throwing us under the bus to China. The Sinclairs for throwing America under the bus. Possibly Kathleen Kennedy. At that time, she will have been considered a traitor, so the Secret Service will probably have to turn around and take her out. Jared Kushner, Ivanka Trump, Eric Trump, Donald Trump Jr., and the former 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump, as a traitor to the United States. Mr. Robert Hammett, Admiral Rick Raven, retired. Admiral Stavridis, retired. The moment Russia declares war, or China declares war on the United States, these are the persons who will be responsible for the billions of deaths that will occur, millions and billions of deaths that will occur afterwards. Or if I pass due to unnatural or even seemingly natural means. And of course, Mr. Ty Briscoe, Miss Jana Lewis, and Miss Holly Adams. This is the Game of Thrones. You win, or you die. .45 has stolen objects from the White House. He's taking the people's things. They need to be returned. Merrick Garland, he's doing the McEnroe strategy. If they pull another thing saying more stuff needs to be released, do not let this happen. He's making a mockery of the justice system. So far, the brilliant Merrick Garland has completely outmaneuvered him. He's going to make a lot more noise to try to get out of it. He whines to win by his own statements. January 6th committee is supposed to have hearings. here in this month of September. Jay-Z, if you want to help your people, here's how it's gonna have to be done. And of course, you're gonna come up with your own little ideas as well. But the main one is this, main two actually. When the if and when the January 6th committee has its hearings, if it shows that there were senators and representatives were helping in the overthrow in Trump's coup d'etat, you must, everyone, hold on a second. What is it? And then you must go to the streets to demand justice. If you do not rebalance, the two branches of government, because the government is we the people, then we have the Constitution, then we have the laws, then we have the judiciary. If you do not rebalance, and we take the people, and we tell this is how it works. And before we got we the people, we got the Constitution, then we have the laws from the Constitution, and then we have the courts to balance the laws and the execution. We the people that tell the legislation, the Congress, these are the laws we want done. Then the Congress writes the laws and then says, President, enact and execute these laws, both in spirit and in letter. And the President is given leeway to interpret, depending about what type of people put to the presidency, how he's going to balance that spirit and the law. And then the judicial system calls the balls and strikes if is he or she balancing the spirit and the letter. Trump does not care about the spirit nor the letter of the law. And he was enabled by the people who are supposed to represent us, but they're thinking they have more power over us. And right now, because of precedent, which is why they were attacking stare decisis, these fools think they control us. So if it is found that senators and congresspersons aided and abetted the executive branch to overthrow the Constitution and therefore the people, you need to hold them accountable to make sure that those persons are removed from Congress post haste. Because only Congress, according to the 14th Amendment, can remove persons in Congress. And we know that's or trying to overturn the country is a high crime and misdemeanor. Then you're going to pass voting rights. After voting rights is passed, you're going to then impeach the president, the former president. Know this, he's going to make a lot of noise between now and then. Because he thinks he's above the law. He thinks he's above the people. We give him a job. We are the deep state. We are the government. We are the people. And our leaders do as we tell them, not the other way around. Now to Ukraine. They've started their offensive, doing a little bit of probing. It looks like the Russians are trying to pop towards Mykolaiv, I believe. That's fine. You have air superiority. Use it. The other thing is still the Grad rockets. I think because I've gone over way longer than I normally should have, we'll go over that. But you still need, you've started to, and this is create your own homemade weapons industry. That's one thing that's cool about NATO. Speaking of which, is everyone has systems that fit their particular place and space. The former Soviet blocs have lots of Grad rocket systems, which are basically nothing more than an artillery shell with a rocket. If we can guide those rockets, say for instance, we know first to within the size to impact within the let's say for instance the concussion is a 6 meter concussion, so that's, or even a 10 meter concussion. So if you can drop a rocket within 10 meters into these because they're in trenches, and they're in a squiggly pattern, so you can drop it at the top of the V. The concussion goes down. Concussion wave goes down down both points, and you can sit there. You can be more efficient with these rockets and start popping them out of their foxholes. And then the next thing is we know that Russia is push logistics. You're doing an excellent job of taking out their supplies, especially since they're cut off in the west, on the west side of Dnipro. Keep hammering them. They'll eventually, well, they'll eventually run out of supplies. They have what they need, so they'll be able to last a little bit longer, but they're not going to be able to last much longer. Their cannons will start to explode on them, apparently. Maintain air superiority. And then the second thing is you need to get some spec ops guys start an insurrection within Kherson, but not a shooting insurrection. Russia has cut off the internet to the west, which really doesn't mean jack shit. What you want to do is have people just, quote, live their lives, but just take pictures, post them online, make sure the metadata is in there, which now Putin will try to strip, but that doesn't mean anything. So if you go into the grocery store, just go into the grocery store, people just taking pictures of their lives, even the elders. One picture a day. Everyone takes just one picture a day. Went to the grocery store, click. Walked out to here, click. They don't have to be pictures of Russian troop movements or anything. Just pictures. And they got to do it every day. If you can get 10% of the population uploading a picture every single day, stand by to stand by. Keep up the good work, Army of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. One thing is we have to do. The main reason I slowed down. We went to the coffin corner, is because we're going to start rotating that wheel, the hamster wheel. We can get it moving faster. Combined arms warfare is hard. Like, I know the generals get it, but to maintain item, and apparently Vidman said we're losing 40% of your ground level officers, and we can't let those numbers. That was the first thing I was trying to do, is stop the bleeding, get the numbers down from 100 persons a day, because that's unsustainable. So we still keep that training of the infantry, rotating back to the back lines and rotating to the front. We start adding in pilot training, keep rotating it in. Sweden, we need to test 6 archers. We need 6 archers to test because of the big with the supply chain, of course. The thing about the archers is we're coming up to mud season, cold weather. This is a vehicle designed specifically for the cold weather, has large wheels that can deal with the mud much better than more normal vehicles. You can deflate the tires, create a larger track set. It's an excellent platform, but we don't know how well they're going to use it within the combined arms warfare. We need so as and also do not Sweden. If you're to deliver these, we need 6 of them. The only reason you need 6, you need two up front, 2 different. One is none, 2 is one, and then 2 for reserves. So 4 on the lines, 2 in reserve. And if they do well, of course, PAE Systems going to want to sell them. But the main thing is, do not sell them unless you believe that they have created, that the Ukrainians have reached a certain amount of removal of improper corruption within their system. At that time, then we need those weapon systems. And then we're going to constantly add different layers when Secretary Austin and the groups that are looking at helping Ukraine, the Mind Trust, says, yeah, okay, they've gotten rid of the corruption, or they've gotten it to acceptable levels, European levels, that then we can start adding different pieces onto the combined arms. And as the combined arms keeps coming in, that hamster wheel is going to get faster, and it's going to get faster. And as you learn, you become more brutal, more ruthless, more efficient, more professional. Once we know that that you're cruising, you take Kherson, or we see, or whatever I say, or whatever the Mind Trust goals are. But I personally believe, because you want to hit Kherson, give you that. Recapture Kherson. If we believe we have to take out that bridge to do so, we'll do so. Or if we want to continue to hold force, keep the S-400 systems on the bridge. Personally, I'd rather take out the S-400 systems all throughout Crimea before we take out the bridge and the rail lines and all the people coming in. But your goal is to get going, get that combined arms, because it takes a different mind to do combined arms. You're thinking in 3 and 4 dimensions. The speed and the pace is going to start picking up. But we can't get you to full speed until you're up to speed. So far, congratulations on getting them to a coffin corner and starting your counteroffensive. We're seeing they're on the Kherson area. They're holding them north. They're trying to use the counteroffensive to go to Mykolaiv. There's so many opportunities in there to wipe out that army as it tries to head to Mykolaiv, especially since you have air superiority. Keep your losses low, because now you're going to have a battle-hardened set who know how to win. So you want to keep as many of your men intact as possible. Men and women, because men and women are on the front lines. You guys can win this. We have faith in you. You have faith in yourself. We believe in you. We know you can make it happen. And besides the fact, I don't believe the people of Ukraine want to do another Holodomor. Because make no mistake about it, Putin doesn't care about anyone. He is a hardcore Stalinist. And you know what Joseph Stalin did. So, I end this one. This has been a way longer than I was expecting or normally would do. Slava Ukraine. Glory to democracy. And may the flag forever wave over the land of the free and the home of the brave.